Ladies and gentlemen, we have another video coming your way. It is a 3D model and it is of a mailbox. This mailbox is going to be created in 3 different parts. 1 is going to be just making the 3D model, 2 is going to be making the environment, and 3 is going to be the rendering process. Okay, so what we're looking at here is we have views. Okay, we have a side view profile of the mailbox, and we have a front view. I guess that would really be the right side based on how this is drawn, but it's the front of the mailbox. First thing I'm looking at here is I'm seeing that this is 4 inches tall. That's the total height. The post itself here is going to max out 1/32, 1/16, 1/16, 1/16. So, you know, take 4 and subtract those 3. You get 3 and... This is tough math. 3 and 13/16 minus a 32nd, 3 and 26, 3 and 25 30-seconds. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start in the 3D model here, and we're going to draw it right next to it. I'm going to draw a rectangle, and we got to go back to the other one to see what size here. Whoops. So you see that the post itself is 1/4 of an inch. Later on we'll scale this up and, you know, by 12 or whatever, and that'll make it actually 4 feet rather than 4 inches. But for now, and especially for my students, we make everything just in inches, which is fine. So this is going to be 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch. Looks like it's going to be square, and it's going to go up, we said, 3 and 25 30-seconds. Okay, so if you take the rectangle tool and you click on the ground, you can do dimensions, and then you can do 1/4, 1/4. That does not seem... Oh, mine's already scaled up. Alright, let me scale this down first. 1/12. Whoops. 1/12. Okay. Alright. Rectangle. Click. Dimensions. This is going to be 1/4 by 1/4. That makes a lot more sense. Which way do you want it? You know, it really doesn't matter. It's 4 different positions, but for us, you just click anywhere. Take that shape, extrude. It's going to go 3 and 25 30-seconds. I hope I got that math right. Maybe I should double check that real quick. So we got 4 minus 3/16 would be 3 and 13/16. 3 and 13/16 is the same as 26 30-seconds minus 1/32, 25 30-seconds. So it should be correct. So, okay, we got the post. Next thing you want to do is you're going to want to figure out the top pieces. Okay, the top pieces stack on top, and obviously they're the top pieces. But just taking a look at the different sizes, they're all square. So you've got one of them that's 5/8 by 5/8 by a 1/16. Another one you've got is 3/8 by 3/8 by a 32nd. You've got another one at the bottom, which is the same width. That's 3/8 by 3/8 by a 1/16. And then you've got this one in the middle here, which is a 1/2 by 1/2 by 1/16. So what I like to do here is I like to make them all out here, 4 different ones. And then you're going to use the box tool to do that. Click anywhere, hit length, and you do your different sizes. So this one is going to be 5/8 that way, 5/8 that way, 1/16 tall. Now you really should be doing this on 2D wireframe, but this in the beginning part when you're doing that, it could be done on hidden as well, or on conceptual, whatever one you want to work in. When things get a little bit more complex and you want to see, you know, like your X-ray vision, that's when you're going to be on your 2D wireframe. So that's the first one. Next one, click anywhere. You're going to do length. Going on the green line, we want to keep everything like symmetrical and straight to each other. That's why we don't want to have it turned or anything like that. This one's going to be a 1/2 by a 1/2 by a 1/16. Next one's going to be length on the green line, 3/8, 3/8, 1/16. And then the very top one, length, 3/8, 3/8 this way, and 1/32 tall. Whoops. Like that. That's the very top one. So now you could stack them out here and then stack them up top, but you know, it doesn't matter the order. What you're going to do here is you're going to do a small orbit like this, just so I can see the difference between these 2 lines. You're going to put a line on top of where you want to put something on top of, a diagonal line. You're going to put a diagonal line on bottom, corner to corner, of the one that you're going to move. So on top of the one it's going on top of, on the bottom of the one it's going, the one that you're going to move. So now you can take these, you can use the move tool, grab it from the midpoint, and put it at that midpoint, and then erase the lines, and then the process starts again. Put it on top of where you want to put something, and on bottom of the one you want to move. Grab this, move, midpoint to midpoint, and erase the lines. Now maybe do a little orbit and make sure everything's stacking up the right way. Looks pretty good. And the process starts again. Line on top, diagonal to diagonal. Line on bottom, diagonal to diagonal of the one that you're moving. Midpoint to midpoint. Be careful, you don't want to get any of these other midpoints. You want to make sure that you're on the correct line, which I totally just missed. How funny. It's just a funny world. Midpoint. Midpoint. Okay, and then again, get rid of the lines. Maybe it helps to orbit a little bit more. And we got one more to go. Corner to corner. Corner to corner on the bottom. Move. Midpoint. Midpoint. Get rid of the diagonals. Go in orbit. Maybe go to conceptual. Looks pretty good. Okay? Alright. 2D wireframe. Next part. Let's do the mailbox, and then we're gonna do the cross. I'm not really sure what the names of these are, but this one's probably a cross post, and this we could call the diagonal post. I don't know. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with a dummy line down here on this side, right? And that line is so that I can offset up on this right side. But in order to do that, I have to change to my right side, which is going to get kind of funny because this file's got a lot of stuff in it. So you'll see it's got like trees and stuff like that. I got to find where that was. Oh boy. How am I going to find that? Okay, it's right here. Alright. Go back to the views for a second. So you'll see that you have different offsets that are going up this right face here. We're calling it the right based on the way that these views are facing. But again, this is actually the front of the mailbox, but it's the right of the drawing. Okay. So if I go up 1 1/4, that gets me to the bottom of this diagonal cross arm. If I go up another 3/4, that gets me to the bottom of the actual cross arm. And if I go up another 1/4, I get to the bottom of the mailbox. So let's go to the bottom of the mailbox first. If I add these together, that becomes 2 1/4. So I'll do an offset. I'm going to orbit this a little bit, but I'm still in my right view. I'm going to do an offset of 2.25. You might as well actually just put all those lines there. So we'll go a 1/4 down from there. We'll go 3/4 down from there. And then the last one would be 1 1/4, but we already have that line and we don't need it anymore, so we erase it. Okay. Now with the mailbox, how do I want to do this? The mailbox is 3/8 inch wide. Okay. This is a spot where I want you guys to be careful with the way that you draw this, because you can't have more than one line for what looks like one line. Okay. So you've got this line here that is 1/4 inch long. 1/4 is the same thing as 2/8, but we need this to be 3/8. So you can't just take another line and draw like a 1/16 this way and then draw a 1/16 that way, hoping that adding 2/16 would get you to 3/8. You really should take this line and stretch it by 1/16, and then stretch this side by 1/16. That way you're still manipulating just one single line. Okay. And from that point now we can draw up, although I got to check how far. It looks like the entire mailbox is 5/8 inch tall, and then it's got a radius 3/16 fillet on the top. So we're going to go, what did I say? Crap. 5/8, radius 3/16. So you're going to go up from this point, 5/8. You're going to go across 3/8, and then you're going to come back down. This might be a little confusing, so maybe I'll just orbit a little bit more again. We're going to do a fillet radius 3/16, and that's going to go from there to there and from there to there. Alright, so you got that. Now take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and join those together. it should say 5:1. I'm getting a spline, which is kind of strange, but I think it's actually because of my file. I've already drawn many things in this file, and a lot of times if you, like right now I'm trying to draw something 2D, but since I've drawn something 3D so many different times in this file, it won't recognize something as a flat plane anymore, and you'll get a spline. This should still work, but for you guys, you'll probably see that you'll actually get a polygon when you go to do that, or a polyline, I should say. So how far is this going to come out when we extrude? Should be 1 3/8. So extrude 1 3/8. Let's see if it actually becomes a solid for me. It's not going to look like this for you, but mine being the spline is a little different. So it's still solid. That's fine. Okay, next piece. We've got a line down here, and we've got this thing as 3/16 wide. So we have something that's a quarter, which is the same thing as 2/8, which is the same as 4/16. We want it to be 3/16. So we want to be 1/16 less, which means that we've got to make it smaller by 1/32 on this side and smaller by 1/32 on this side. Double check that math, but looks pretty good in my mind. Bringing this back 1/32, bringing this back this way 1/32. Now there is another way to check and see how long this line is. You can click on this line, do a right click in the black area, go to properties, and you should see it says length 0.1875. So 0.1875 really means nothing to me, but when you bring the calculator up, if I do 3 divided by 16, I get 0.1865, or 0.1875, sorry. So that is correct, it's the right length, okay? Then you're going to go up however far we got to go up. It's probably going to go up until it hits that right there, which is, looks like it's 0.25. Well, let's just double check. Yes, 0.25. So draw your line. Again, this advanced 3D stuff gets tough. There's a lot of different lines that you're going to see, and you got to just keep your head wrapped around what you're doing. And whoop, not 3/8. And don't get lost in the drawing. If you ever do get lost in the drawing, reset your view. Alright, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want to show you where this is. Go to conceptual. It's 4 lines right on the right face that I'm going to join and I'm going to extrude out right here. So the question is, after the join, how far does that come out? 1 1/4. I can stay in conceptual, grab the 4 lines, join. Should be a 4:1. That time I got a polyline, 3D polyline, but it doesn't really matter. Extrude 1 1/4. Okay, so now that part's done. Looks solid so far. Get it? It's a solid. That's not funny. That is not funny, man. Okay, going back down to this one. This one, hard to see dimension, but it's 1/16 wide. So again, that line is already a quarter, and we want to make it 1/16. A quarter is the same thing as 2/8 and 4/16, which means we got to bring it down by 3/16. But you divide that by both sides, that means it's coming in 3/32 on both sides. Now you don't have to do it this way. You could just take a line and go up 1/8, and I'll tell you why it's 1/8 right now, because this right there is 1/8. We have a line right here going across back there, but if I go up 1/8, that works too. And the post itself is a 16 wide. So if I went up 1/8, I could technically just offset this by a 32nd. We got to go back to 2D wireframe to do this. A 32nd to the right and to the left, and now I really could just erase that line, and you could have done this same way for all of those, but we end up with something like this. Okay, so we need that box. That box is important. Join 4:1. Okay, now I want you to go to the front face, and I don't want to lose my mailbox again, but looks like it's out here. Okay, in my front face with a blue box, you can see that little shape that I just made. What you're going to do is you're going to grab that and you're going to type rotate. You're going to use a base point right here. You're going to do a copy of it, and you're going to go like draw in the up direction, because you can see I want another one down here that I can loft those two together. So you can either type 90 degrees or you can just go up and click, and then you'll see that there's now one here as well. Going back to a 3D view, I now have 2 of them, one underneath and one on that right side there. If I use the loft tool, there's other ways to do this too. You could have drawn the front profile of it out here. Let's see, are we on the front? Oh, it's getting tough. Okay, you could have gone 1/8 draw on the diagonal, 1/8, draw on the diagonal. You could have done that as well, join those four together and extrude it, but I kind of like doing it this way. I like using loft. Loft, 1, 2, enter, enter. Alright, so now on conceptual, you will see that the mailbox itself is done. The only other thing that I had in mind is I had some text on there. I had some numbers on the mailbox, so I'll show you how to do that real quick. And then the actual 3D model is done. Okay, so with the numbers, go to the front face. You guys can do the front text if you want. You would go to the right face to do that. But in mine, I'll do the front face. Where did it go? All the way out here. I guess I could show you guys what that is, because that's probably pretty annoying to keep seeing that. Hang on. This is the environment that we're going to create, at least something similar like this, where the mailbox is going to be behind like curbs, and you're going to have a driveway with like pavers or something, some grass, maybe a tree or two, okay? And if I'm on realistic, you'll see all those materials, which looks pretty cool. You know, lines on the street, all that good stuff. That line should actually be white. I don't know why I made that yellow. Must have made a mistake. Yeah, so anyways, that's what that big thing is over there. So let's go back to the front side. Let's find the mailbox again. I'm actually going to just erase that one because I don't need it. And I'm going to do some text. Okay, so here's how text works. Well, you guys know how to do text, but there's an added step. So I'm going to go back to my 2D tools, which is drafting and annotation. And by the way, somebody asked me this in a comment. They said, what's the difference between 3D Basics and 3D modeling? 3D Basics, they're the exact same thing, but 3D Basics just gives you like your 10 or 9 most useful 3D tools and makes them into really big icons. But you can still find all these other 3D tools back here as well, or you can type, you know, whatever you want. The 3D modeling tab is to me is very overwhelming, especially for my students, because there's just so many different icons that you can see, and you actually just got to drop down extrude to get to your loft, revolve, sweep, you know, your box. You still got all of those shapes. So you have everything still in the same spot, but it's just a little bit more complicated looking of a menu. Okay, so that's why we use 3D Basics. There's nothing missing. It doesn't turn anything off or give you a disadvantage at all. All right. Okay, text. So back to drafting and annotation. We're going to go to single line text, and if you're one of my students, you're going to be finishing this, putting it on hidden, putting line weights on there, putting your name on there, and then you're going to be printing that out because that one's going to get stapled to the top of your colorful render. Okay. But for this, we're just going to do numbers. You guys are required to do numbers if you're in my class. You're not required to do the US mail stuff on the front. You don't have to do that. Alright, text height. Let's see, what do we want to do? 1/4 of an inch is how wide the mailbox is. So let's do 1/8 and see how tall that is. And then a 0 rotation angle. And I'm just going to type numbers like, I don't know, 530 and 153 or something like that. Click off, hit escape. Okay. If those numbers aren't big enough, you can change the size. I'm not ready to put them on yet. But what I will do is I lost it again. Oh, my numbers disappeared too. Okay. What you'll do is you'll select this text and you're going to type TXTEXP, which stands for text explode. And what that does is it shoots it back down to the zero barrier, or the zero axis, okay? And it just breaks up the text. That way you can actually extrude them. So these things are going to be extruded by, let's see, 1/8 is the height. So let's do like 1/32 or something like that. Now I'm going to have to find these numbers because they're probably everywhere. I should have connected those to what I was doing. Let's see if we can go like this and move them from one of these points to something close. There we go. Alright. Because it'll drift off into space, you know what I mean, if you don't have it on the same layer. And then all you do is you basically just take these and move them, grab them from a point, probably put it like, I don't know, I'd probably put them like here, and then move that. Oh, by the way, some of them come into different pieces, so you're going to want to grab both and do a union first. grab both and hit enter. That puts those two together. This one I think is like 3 different pieces here, or maybe 4. Union those together and union these together. Okay, that's just how it works with the curves and stuff with the numbers. So we go like this. We probably move that over by, I don't know, this doesn't have to be perfect, somewhere in the center, a little bit further. Okay, and now this is something that you're not going to union to the model because it's not going to have the same materials on there. So don't forget that when you're doing this. Maybe this has its own material on it, like a metal mailbox. Maybe this, and this, and these are all like a white plastic or something like what's in mine. Okay, so if that's the case, you can union the rest of these things together, but leave the mailbox alone and leave the numbers separate, because the numbers you're going to want to make them like black or something so that they stand out. You could do a union of the numbers 1, 3, 5, enter, and that makes them all one solid, but we don't want to do that yet because we didn't move them into place yet. So next thing would be moving these other numbers into place. Grab it from the back of the number, stamp it down on the back of another number, move that down. Same thing with this one. Stamp it to the back of a number, like so, and then try to get to your front view and move those numbers around and make them look pretty. Where did my numbers go? Oh, okay, you just can't see it because they're in a shadow. At least I hope they're on the correct side. Yeah, they are. They're just hard to see because they're like the same color. Alright, so the 3 has to move over into the center a little more. The 5 has to move over a little bit. Now let's click them. You could also draw a line down the 3 of them just to get them straight, but you guys understand what I'm saying, okay? So you get them on that side. You're going to use a different material when we go to do materials and stuff, and that is it for this model. So again, if you're one of my students, you're resetting your view, you're going to hidden, you're putting your line weights on there, and you are going to print it out. Okay, so now that's part 1. Part 2 is going to be doing the environment, and then part 3 is going to be doing all the lighting and texture and materials and all that good stuff as well. Alright, so thank you for watching part 1. Please follow through to part number 2. I appreciate that. I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.